I had a very liberal priest once tell me, this was before I became a Catholic. He told me that we priests, and I could tell that he was liberal right off. I mean, I didn't know too much about Catholicism, but he said, we priests are called to be celibate, which means not to be married, but doesn't necessarily mean that you can't have sexual encounters. I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's not what I ever heard about Catholics. But he said that to my face openly. And he also said that he had a nephew who was a priest who had gotten a woman pregnant, which was unfortunate. And I was like, my head was spinning as a Protestant to hear a Catholic say this.
You must have run into one of the 50%. You know?
I ran into one of the 50%. And that idea I've heard has been repeated surrounding the orbit of McCarrick, where they're interpreting celibacy as non-heterosexual marriage. Yeah. And they're sort of minimizing their promise to the celibate state, which they made it as a deacon, or if they're in the old rite as a subdeacon, to live the celibate life and pray the office. And so they're interpreting it like Pharisees.
Yeah.
And saying all it means is I don't enter a sacramental marriage. So I'm not technically violating celibacy by having these perverse relations with another man. Is there known concubinage in the clergy? I once heard a priest also say that he doesn't like going to the Maundy Thursday or the Chrism Mass because he knows there are priests there who have male or female concubines. And he just didn't like the concelebration element of it because he's like, I feel like I'm joined up there with them. And I was like, wow, like that means there's known concubinage in the diocese.
Right.
Is that common? Like that seems crazy to me.
Yeah, I think in talking to other priests, that I know of in our diocese and others as well, there are definitely. When I saw the number 50%, I would have never guessed that it was that high. But there are people, I think, there are known situations where everyone's just kind of like, Father kind of has a special friend. I think it's tolerated, out of cowardice, which is really kind of a lot of times at the root of a lot of this, is, I don't want the bishop or whoever it is, the vicar for clergy is like, well, I don't want. And if it's 50%, like who's ready to sack 50% of their clergy? And when we're trying to, everybody's already got 3 parishes, but it's probably time for I think it's time for the Gideon approach. Like, let's get 300 guys that are ready to fight and we'll figure this out.
We don't expect our Lord to do a miracle when we're faithful. When we're faithful like Moses and you hold up the staff, the sea might part.
Right.
And, if we did that, we wouldn't have any priests. Maybe that's not true. Maybe we would have priests. Maybe we'd have more priests.
If these guys are costing us billions of dollars, these lawsuits and all this other stuff, then like get rid of them.
Billions.
Right? And then you have the spiritual side of it too, which is they're living morally bankrupt lives. So you want them preaching, So you have both aspects. It's beneficial just to say we're going to go with half our crew here. Yeah. And you might not all get mass every weekend.
And I wonder what kind of severe damage has been done to the laity through the, apostate Judas ministry of a guy like McCarrick or Bernardine or Mahoney or, let the list go on.
Right.
The fallout is not just billions of dollars, but we're talking about souls.
Yeah.
It's all about the souls. This is one of the things that I've appreciated, whether you like him or not. Archbishop Vigano, here's my cup. Archbishop Vigano, he says it's all about souls.
It's all about souls.
It's all about souls.
Right.
And at the end of the day, when you have hundreds, thousands of people who have been molested, think about these priests who are not living continents, not their fidelity, and they're in the confessional talking to teenage boys, teenage girls, married men, married women. What kind of horrible theology and laxity is being poured into these souls?
There's no way to even start to put like a quantity, to one suicide, let alone all the people that, and then the lives that are destroyed. I mean, then that spills over into all their relationships, and I mean, it's just it's a tsunami of filth.
Our Lord loves instrumental causality. He wants to use us. Yeah. He could, like I've said this before, he could, to every single person, give them a personal apparition of himself.
I say that too.
Where he explains the Apostles' Creed.
Yep.
Gives a personal invite to baptism and gives you a vision of heaven and says, would you like to become a Catholic? He could do that. He does not. He chooses not to because he wants the instrumental causality of conversion to be preaching, the good example of Catholics, friendships, all the instrumental causality that we see in the church, which brings people into communion with Christ in the Catholic Church.
Right.
So we have to be the instrumental causes.
Absolutely. And cooperating with that changes us and makes us into saints. I mean, that's why he leaves it to us, you know. Yeah. But the sitting out or the taking the safe path it's not an option.
Dominus vobiscum, et cum spiritu tuo. Lectio Sancti Evangelii secundum Ioannem. Gloria tibi,